So let's talk about intelligently getting to work on those shoulders, intelligently getting to work on those upper extremities, your posture, postural correction, and also bringing it full circle, connecting the dots for complete correction of any shoulder problems, for complete functional strength going forward. So much of what we do, and we've talked about this in the past, we mainly talked about this in the past when it comes to the anterior dominance, of the front side dominance of certain muscles in your body. Hypertrophic, they're overgrown, it's an imbalance. The pushers in our body, they are outdoing the pullers. When it comes to that, we usually talk about from sitting and how the hip flexors get too tight and they're too flexed and they're too strong, and that comes at the expense of our posterior chain muscles, the glutes, the hammies, the low back, the things like that. So we want to try to counter that by paying attention to the posterior chain. You see, especially up top, this is what we see all the time, posture. Posture is playing a role in so many cases that come in when people are deteriorating from one issue or another. You know how it is. Everything we do is in front of us, anterior. I'm driving, typing, texting, I'm reading. Anything I'm doing is out in front of me. That's going to perpetuate this. The shoulder is coming into a more flexed position and also into an internally rotated position right here. So that means things like the pec, the anterior delt, something down here called your subscap. If you've ever been in here for ART treatment, you know what the subscap is. The subscapularis, an overlooked muscle of the rotator cuff family. Those start to become short and stronger, and all of a sudden we start to assume this. Now we know gravity's always pulling us down anyway. You want to perpetuate that and expedite the process of losing to gravity and having poor posture and starting to close down this way. So now I'm aching on the back a little bit more. My gait is altered, so I'm going to create problems with my lower extremities. I'm closing down my thoracic cavity right here, so I can't even inhale fully and take in a full breath and full oxygen to feel good. I gotta be upright right there so that diaphragm can go full excursion, pull all the way down, draw all that air in, oxygen in, and expel that CO2, that metabolic waste product, fully every time with the breath. All of that is a result of poor deteriorating posture. What do we want to do about it? We want to start to correct that. We talked about in the past with the countering anterior dominance and the YTWL. That to a lot of patients, as you can imagine, people, the more screen time you're doing at your desk, the more you're standing there, even if it's a stand-up desk. Stand-up desk can start to fix the lower extremity, the hip flexor, the low back problems. But if you're at that stand-up desk, I know it myself, if I'm standing there too long, I'm like this. And my typing's not that great, so I'm actually like this a little bit too. You know, and that's perpetuating this right here. So we want to start to counter that. Not only is our culture, and most of we do anterior dominant, not only does it perpetuate that, but think about when you go to the gym. So much of what we do is for the anterior muscles, which is, it's kind of narcissistic if you think about it, right? When I look in the mirror, we see what's in front of us. We don't see what's behind us. When we see someone, we see their face, we're presented in front of them. People are always concentrating on the pecs and the biceps and the sexy muscles that people see right there. It's all good to be balanced, but you need those pullers, those posterior chain, those postular, those stabilizing muscles to be just as big, if not bigger, stronger, I should say, than those anterior ones right there, because they're going to hold us back. Pull us back, not hold us back from excelling, pull us back into a better position. In an exaggerated form, we're talking about this. Pulling the shoulders back, externally rotating the shoulders, pulling us back and allowing us to attain better posture. You still got to work on the neck, you still got to work on the lower half, but the shoulders are an essential component of the equation right there. You think about the shoulder joint, ball and socket joint, just like your hip joint, so some of the same principles apply. Ball and socket joint gives us tons of range of motion. We can come all over the place, more motion than any other joint in the body. The pitfall to that is for all of that excessive range of motion, we lose some stability right there. There's also some movement in that ball and socket joint right there, meaning your humerus, this bone right here, can sit in that ball and socket joint. It can come forward, it can be neutral, it can be more posterior. You can do that just by internally and externally rotating right there. When your muscles, when the fascia, everything is too tight on the front end, it starts to move that shoulder more anterior, starts to push it to the front. If that happens, all of a sudden, you have less range of motion. You can't go flexion as much. You can't go abduction as much. Oftentimes, external rotation is diminished as well. When that takes place, all of a sudden you close down the joint space a little bit. Now you start to lose pain-free range of motion because you come up and all of a sudden, ooh, yeah, it hurts. I can get through it, but ooh, that hurts. Oh, I can come up through that, but yeah, that hurts. Because the joint, because the humerus is so forward in that joint, it's starting to hit certain bony structures in that area. And then you start to get what's called impingement syndrome. You lost some of the pain-free range of motion. You keep doing that over and over and over and over again, that's just agitating that tissue and agitating that tissue. Other than the local inflammation, you can start to degenerate those muscles in there. We're talking about the rotator cuff muscles. You start to come up and down, and I keep going, and it's grinding against the bone, grinding against the bone. Just imagine, it's just going to keep picking, painful inflammation, but deteriorating the tissue. All of a sudden, you created a tear over time as well. All the more reasons to focus on the shoulder. So we want to start to work out more intelligently in the gym. Focus on functional strength, postural correction strength, allowing you to keep moving, allowing you to stay upright as much as possible. Super slow or slowed down shoulder movements. Low weight we're talking about. Again, we're not talking about big muscles because we're going to flex and we're going to a bodybuilding show right there. Unless you are, then more power to you. But at the same time, we're talking about functional strength right here to keep you upright and allow doing what you want to keep doing. So the first one I want to show you is just a reverse fly. I'll do it upright just to show you, but we're definitely going to want to get inverted, either completely parallel to the ground, or if you have it, an incline bench that you can come down. I'll show you what we're talking about. But for a reverse fly, you know the flies, we do them in the gym, and we come forward like this. A lot of these movements that we see that we're going to demonstrate, they're the opposite of what you do for the anterior. So a fly is just bringing it forward like this and pinching those pecs together. We're trying to do the opposite. So really we're coming, and our pull is going to be this way. The resistance is from the front. Pulling that way, and we're squeezing back. And when you squeeze back from the side, this is what it looks like. When you squeeze back, you're really concentrating on generating the force from your posterior delt, this muscle right here, and also your rhomboids, these muscles in the middle of your spine, right in between your shoulder blades. You're coming back and you're squeezing back and hold. Try not to just really fast. We want to go nice and slow to minimize wear and tear on the joint. Remember, this is smart working out. This is smart movement right here. As you can imagine, if you start to go downward, it makes it harder because we're working against gravity. So again, if we are able to, we want to get down in a position like this, bring the arms and bring them up and squeeze back. And you can go super slow. So we're talking about 5 seconds down. In the gym, I usually do 10 each way, but start with 5. 5 seconds up. Obviously, you're going to use lower weight for this. That's okay. We're not focusing on looking good with the huge dumbbells here. We're going nice and slow. 5 seconds down, 5 seconds up. Pinch that area right there. That will start to counter some of that pec hypertrophy, some of that pec over-tightness, stiffness in that area. That'll start to allow your shoulder to fall in more of a default state. Due to more default tone of those posterior shoulder muscles, it allows that humerus to slide back a little bit. Oftentimes in here, we're doing the ART on someone or some Graston or any type of release. We're releasing those front sides, the pec, the subscap that we talked about. That's flexion. That's internal rotation. We release that. But all of those improvements are only potentiated if the other side of the equation is involved. And that's where this comes in. That comes into, okay, cool, we release this, we lengthen this, now let's strengthen that backside. Strengthen that backside. More default tone for the posterior delt, more default tone for the rhomboids, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to correct that posture. My arms, which were like this, will start to slowly come back as you create more tone. There are other ways to do this. That was the intro plus the first move. We'll hit you with more later. But get to work. Get to work. Stay upright. Keep moving. Stay strong.